So maybe your avoidant ex has come back out of the blue and you find yourself questioning their motives. Why is it that avoidant attachment styles often reemerge and come back seemingly out of nowhere? And what is it that they truly want? But most importantly, how should you react to this particular situation? Because knowing the answer to this and being clear ahead of time can save you from a whirlwind of heartbreak, but not knowing this could cause you to potentially fall into that same old cycle of inconsistency, lack of clarity, and frustration. So in today's video, we are going to go through the 3 must-knows for what happens when an avoidant attachment style comes back again. If you're new to this channel, my name is Gibson. I'm so glad that you're here and that you stopped by. If you want to learn a little bit more about the 4 attachment styles and are not familiar, you can always check out our description box below. They are essentially your relationship style and everybody has one. And if you enjoyed today's video, I hope you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I put daily content out here every single day about relationships, attachment styles, and I've been in this field for more than a decade. So here are the 3 things that you really need to know. Number 1, we often talk about on this channel how avoidants operate from their feelings minus their fears. In other words, they'll be in a space where they could have 8 out of 10 feelings for you. They could be really feeling a lot, but if they have 8 out of 10 fears, if they are afraid to be vulnerable, to open up, they're afraid of being trapped, they're afraid of being engulfed or criticized, there's going to be 8 out of 10 of pulling away. And so if somebody is working through their fears, they're, an avoidant attachment style, let's say dismissive avoidant, working to become secure, and their fears are only a 3 or 4, you're going to see, that spread. You're going to see that effort and somebody really putting in more time into the relationship. But if they're not working through those fears, then you're going to see a lot of stagnation and a lot of probably things that are going to frustrate you, give you mixed signals, and leave you feeling really, really confused. So what often happens is when an avoidant is in that vulnerable space where they're starting to really attach to somebody, it's once we start to attach to somebody that our attachment style becomes obvious. Our attachment patterns become obvious because in the early days or stages when we don't have a lot of feelings yet, we don't feel so vulnerable. We don't feel so like everything is so real and raw. It's once those feelings develop that somebody's attachment patterns begin to come online. And that may be where you're suddenly seeing this person pull away when you thought everything was going really well. And so if that actually ends up as a full-fledged breakup, or, that's your ex now, you've moved in a different direction, and then some time passes, well, now they realize you're gone. Their fears are not there. They're not afraid of things any longer because there isn't the fear of engulfment or being trapped or being overwhelmed or being criticized or being seen, all these things that dismissive avoidants tend to really fear. And so their feelings are just left. And that may be where they come back and they have that feeling of safety with that emotional distance. But here's the really important part. There is a massive difference between somebody sending you a text message saying, hey, thinking of you, or hey, I miss you, versus somebody actually taking accountability, doing the work on themselves, and being ready to show up in a relationship in the way that you actually need. And that is the single most important thing that you need to be vetting for. Now, I just shared this recently, but I really want to highlight this if you haven't seen this yet. Something we talk about inside the personal development school all the time. People will come in and they'll be like, oh, my ex is back. What do I do, Thais? And they'll come on our webinars and ask me. And I'll say, look, what is your red to green flag balance? Do you see somebody who says, yeah, I'm coming back, but I've been in therapy, or I've been taking courses, or I've been reading books, I've been learning about myself. They express accountability for their behaviors when they come back. They say they want to do things differently. They want to try things again. You can see that they're trying to be vulnerable. If you're seeing like all these green flags all of a sudden, then it actually may be worth it to like let your guard down and to have a deeper conversation, and then maybe start as if you were starting from scratch. Make sure that you go into the situation fully vetting as if you were like literally dating them right from the jump, right from the beginning again, and vet them. See, okay, you know what they said? They're showing me all these green flags. Does their behavior reflect this across the next month? I'll give it a shot for a month. I'll really vet. I'll be really mindful. That could be a healthy outcome. But if somebody just says, hey, or thinking of you, or sends you a meme, or sends you a text message at like 11 p.m., that doesn't mean that they're ready for true change. And unfortunately, for a lot of dismissive avoidants, because they do tend to derive a certain degree of security and comfort from having somebody, to text or talk to, sometimes their behavior is just driven by like loneliness or nostalgia or just, missing that security of having somebody there or even like just looking for small bouts of validation. And this isn't me like trying to give an avoidant a hard time. This is their own wounding, right? They're in wounding when they're in this particular space. But also, if you are somebody who responds to their wounding with your wounding, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, they've reached back out and your wounds are to fear abandonment or to not feel good enough. So now this person's reaching out to you and now you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm good enough. Let me just drop everything and people please and just make sure that I feel good enough and try to win them over. Then we just have two wounded people doing two wounded things. And I hate to say that, but I just want to be honest. If somebody's just reaching out with a little text message and you're going to drop everything, you are also operating from your own wounding. And then you are both together likely going to go back through that same pattern and end up back at square one in that same space, that typical anxious avoidant trap. If you're an anxious attachment style, a fearful avoidant, or even a secure person with some anxious tendencies. Now, there's two other things I really want to tell you, but I also want to let you know if you want to check out a deeper path to healing that will help a lot to really get over your ex, you can check out a course fully for free. It's actually part of our 14-day free trial. You can check out all of our courses fully for free for a limited time. And this one's called How to Heal from a Breakup Fast. And it literally is based on principles of neuroscience and grief that help you speed up your healing process so that if you are stuck on somebody from the past, you can move through it a lot quicker. And that will help you make more sane and sobering decisions going forward about whether or not you should even engage back with somebody. And it helps you rewire your core wounds and your fears in relationships and your triggers, which will better prepare you for future dating and relationships in a much healthier way. So I'll put that free trial down below. It's more than enough time to get through that course and probably a couple others. So check it out if you'd like to. It's just for a limited time for Black Friday month. Okay, so here's the two other things. You need to make sure that when this person comes back, you have the ability to self-soothe, kind of like what I was just saying a moment ago. If you don't have the ability to self-soothe, you know what you're going to do, and this is just honest, you are going to make non-sober decisions. And I don't mean like you're not actually sober. I mean that if you are in a position where you don't know how to get your needs met, I'm going to tell you an old story. Okay. This story, I'm probably halfway butchering this story to be perfectly honest, because I read this book like 10 plus years ago, but there's an amazing book. Most of you probably know this author, and his name is Don Miguel Ruiz. And he wrote The Four Agreements, which is a really popular book, but he also wrote my favorite of his books was called The Mastery of Love. It's kind of about self-love. And there's a story that I probably have halfway right. But in this story, they talk about the magical kitchen and they go through and the author says, okay, imagine you have a magical kitchen. And in that magical kitchen, you can snap your fingers and have any food that you want. You can have ice cream, you can have candy, you can have whatever you want, snap of your fingers. And somebody one day comes and they knock on your door and they say, hey, I have a pizza here for you. And I'll give you some of my pizza, a piece of this pizza, but you have to do all these things that I tell you to. So there's all these stipulations, right? Well, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, why would I take your pizza with your stipulations when I can just snap my fingers and make my own pizza, as many pizzas as I would like to right here? And then imagine that your magical kitchen breaks down. It stops working. And it's been 3 days and you've had no food. And that person comes back and they knock on your door and they say, I have a pizza here for you, but it comes with all these stipulations. What are you going to do? You're starving. You're so hungry. It's been 3 days. You've had no food. What are you're going to say? Give me your pizza with your stipulations. Now, the analogy and the point of the story is meant to show us how we respond when we have the ability versus lack of ability to love ourselves and meet our own needs. If you have the ability to meet your own needs and self-soothe and give yourself things like validation and encouragement and enjoy spending time with yourself. If somebody comes into your life from a dating perspective and they have all these stipulations or there's all these red flags or they don't show up in the way that you need, you're going to be like, I'm sorry, I'm actually good. I actually enjoy my own time. I enjoy being with myself. I'm not going to settle for something that is meeting my needs partially when I can meet my needs over here as well and hold out for somebody who's actually also going to add a benefit to that. But if you're starving, if you have a total lack of ability to truly self-love and you don't know how to self-soothe and your nervous system's dysregulated and you're afraid to be alone and be present with yourself for too long, you're always escaping yourself through social media or television or creature comforts of some kind, and you don't know who you are or have a relationship to yourself, you're going to put up with all of the people who come knocking on your door with the stipulations. And that is going to actually also be a detriment to your self-esteem. And in case you missed it, you can now reserve your spot and get more than a 50% early bird discount for our live relationship coach certification program. This 12-week program gives you the opportunity to build a new career, create your own thriving coaching practice, help your community, and secure your financial future full of abundance with a growing waitlist of clients. And the best part is that you get to spend a whole bunch of time with me as I teach you exclusive subconscious reprogramming tools and help you learn how to change somebody's attachment style from insecurely attached to securely attached so that you can truly help create transformation in people's lives and have a wait list of people waiting to work with you. We also have an entire business week about how to build funnels, systems, and to really build a thriving and busy practice. You can sign up using the link down below the video, and I can't wait to see you there. And so the whole point here is that if you are in a position where you don't know how to meet your own needs, you don't know what your needs are, that's how we self-soothe. That's how we build a relationship to ourselves. And so if you take a deeper dive into like, who am I really? And in the How to Heal from a Breakup course, it goes into this in so much detail. What are your needs? Learn to meet them with yourself in a way that feels good and actually works. Learn who you are by asking yourself deep questions, actually connecting to yourself and your truth, getting to know yourself. Imagine you're dating somebody. What do you do when you're first dating somebody? You like go on dates, you spend quality time with them, you're present, you ask them deep questions, you learn what their needs are, you show up for those needs in the relationship. It's part of the way that we exchange and actually feel reciprocity and love and connection. But are you doing any of that in the relationship to yourself? Or are you just doing like 10% of it, 20% of it? If you have work to do there, it's some of the best work you're ever going to do in your life because it's going to change how you show up in relationships and what you expect and what you put up with and don't. And it's going to shape your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself going forward. So the point here is that you are going to actually learn to self-soothe, and that will help you. Our last point, set boundaries and actually maintain your standards going forward. Really important stuff. If you want to do a deeper dive, check out that course down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for stopping by.